Alright, so originally I wasn't going to talk about this movie because I don't have a huge understanding or like a deep understanding of Queen's history, but I read some things really quickly before, and there was a bunch of people on stream that are like, are you going to make a video about Bohemian Rhapsody? I want to see a video. So I guess it doesn't matter how much you talk about something on stream, people still want the video, which I appreciate. So let's get into a nice little thoughts, opinions, and review of Bohemian Rhapsody.
You're a legend, Fred.
We're all legends.
So first of all, just getting it out there, Bohemian Rhapsody is supposed to be a biopic about Queen and largely Freddie Mercury. Now, the issue with this is that there really hasn't been much put out there by Freddie Mercury himself. He is currently dead. He passed away in 1991 of AIDS. Deacon has stepped out of the limelight for 25 years, so that really left it with Brian and Roger to craft this together, which becomes pretty noticeable as you're watching the movie. No hate to them, but let's continue. Now, there were a lot of things this movie did really, really right, and some things they did not so well for it to be considered an actual biopic. So some of the things they did wrong, let's get right out the gate. The timeline stuff is all messed up. So to make it fit the story they were telling, they would rearrange songs. So We Will Rock You is written like way later in the movie than it would have been in real life, just to kind of push it as like something that helps bring the band back together from like some turmoil. They really try to push up Freddie screwing over the band to record a solo album, even though Roger and Brian had both already recorded their own solo projects prior to that, and Queen never stopped recording music when Freddie made solo albums, but I feel like they just needed some kind of conflict to shove in the movie. They also really try to push up that he was spiraling out of control with drugs and sex while the rest of the band wasn't, but that's also not true. So they really upplayed the fact that all the other band members had families, had wives, and then it was just Freddie kind of left alone to his own devices, just kind of spiraling. And while I'm sure a lot of that did actually happen, the way that they really try to paint it up is if the band broke up for a certain matter of time. All they really did was take a break from performing. They were still writing music. But I get it, they wanted a conflict, and they wanted the conflict all surrounding the Live Aid concert, so there had to be the conflicts for the resolution. But that's why I always have issue with some of these things being called biopics. Like, I really love Straight Outta Compton, but obviously that is going to be painted by the remaining people that are alive, and they can veto things that they don't want in the story. It's always tough when stories are left to be told by the survivors, and to have a movie like this so heavily focused on Freddie, but also Queen, with Freddie not alive and basically just leaving it in the hands of people that also want to look good in the situation, makes it kind of rough. Beyond that, there were like a couple inconsistencies, like how the band was developed. Freddie wasn't actually diagnosed with AIDS before the Live Aid concert, as far as I'm aware, and I think again, that all just really hinges on them trying to make the big moment, the Live Aid concert. So a lot of things got sped forward just for that moment, including like there was like 3 different things that happened on the day of the concert that just wouldn't have made sense in real life, but it's because the timeline was moved around to make it fit better and to make sure they mentioned everybody. Again, also not a fan of the fact that Bryan Singer is so heavily involved in the project. Even though he was fired, he still legally had to be listed as the director. But I have issues with Bryan Singer. X-Men 1 and 2 are 2 of my most cherished films, and when I was younger, I wept when Brett Ratner was hired and cursed Bryan Singer for going to do Superman and wanted him back on X-Men so badly. And Brett Ratner is also a sack of shit, but Bryan Singer is literally getting away with a lot of things unchecked. So that much I don't really enjoy, and that kind of sucked, and I don't really want to support him. But again, he was fired from the project, and overall I think they did a good job. Then in terms of the movie itself, there are some pacing issues. It's like there was so much information that they're trying to cram into this movie. Just like years and years and years of a band and a person's life trying to come together, and it felt like it could have been like 3 different stories. So you had a heavy involvement in what Queen was doing. You had the heavy stuff in what Freddie was doing in his personal life. And it was kind of hard to bring it all together. There was definitely a couple moments in between where it kind of lulled like a little bit, but for the most part was still good. Again though, if you don't have a base understanding of Queen or any understanding of how Queen's history worked out, this movie might leave you with a lot of like misinformation in terms of like timeline specifically. But now let's get on to the stuff that I liked, and there was a lot. So any moment they were playing music, it was electric. It was beautiful. It was fantastic. It is easily my favorite implementation of like a band working together on screen. I really just think everything kind of came together. It came together so nicely. I love the moments when they're talking to Ray Foster and he's saying all this stuff about Bohemian Rhapsody and how it was gonna like fail and just all of the issues with like dealing with the record labels and that kind of stuff, which that in itself could have been its own movie. It was just really fun. Like all the stuff with the band all together was just so fun, and just kind of seeing, you know, like Freddie just interacting and just all of it. It was just so done so well. So that kind of leads into the actors that they cast. I think everybody did an amazing job. Rami Malek, and I know I'm probably saying that wrong, did such an amazing job as Freddie. He just had the way that he portrayed the flamboyancy didn't come across as like overt and trying too hard. Like it came across as very genuine, which I believe would probably be really hard to pull off. It just felt so natural to the character. It was done so well. Ben Hardy did a great job as Roger Taylor. Gwilym Lee as Brian May was like, honestly, at some points, like indistinguishable from actual Brian May. And even though I could not separate Joseph Mazzello in my head from his character in Jurassic Park, I also think he did a great job as Deacon. I really don't think there were any actors that underperformed. I thought that the girl who played Mary Austin did a great job. I think her name's Lucy Boynton or something like that. Like, I really just can't think of a single person in that movie that felt out of place, felt like they were performing improperly, felt like they weren't pulling their weight. Like, the cast was all-star. I almost feel this would have done really well as a miniseries where they could have properly unpacked every little thing that they wanted to, but I like it as a movie, if that makes sense. I love the fact that they recreated the Live Aid scene. I think that was great. And it was just really magical. Like, and it wasn't perfect, obviously, because there's a lot of historical issues. Obviously, because it's being written by 2 surviving members and the person that is most in the spotlight is not alive to kind of give his perspective on his side of things. He kind of becomes a villain in places where he really shouldn't have been. Like, why are you going to villainize him for doing solo projects when you guys did solo projects first? And you guys were still recording as Queen when he was doing his solo stuff. Like, it just really, that didn't really make sense to me. If they wanted it to be more dramatized for the movie and make more of that, like, that redemption story where he crashes and burns and has to work his way back, I get it. But it does just kind of come across as cheap as something that's supposed to be, like, the defining biopic of this person's life. But there's no denying it was fun. Like, they could have gone on playing songs for another, like, 30 minutes and I would have been happy. I think they took a lot of really good licenses with, like, the cinematography. But I think one of my favorite things about this movie was just watching the band work together. I thought it was really special. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for my thoughts on the movie. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you're thinking down below. If you guys are huge Queen buffs, let me know all the other inconsistency. I'm sure there are many. Obviously, the eye color was wrong for all the other things they did to make him look spot on, but I understand that the color contacts are very uncomfortable for some people, so that might be why they did away with it. But overall, I had a great time watching the movie. There were a couple moments that felt a little bit inconsistent and probably could have been tightened up a little bit. For trying to tell such a big story, I think it came together a lot better than it should have, honestly. So yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. Let me know what your favorite parts of the movie were. And yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Catch you all later.